Good day, everyone. Welcome to Critical Faculty. I'm your host, Hani Salim, and today I'm honored again to have Dave Farina on my channel. Good day, Dave. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Very good. Excellent. Well, I wanted to really, you're probably the best person to talk to about these sort of things because we live in a current situation where everybody's afraid of certain traps and everybody's afraid to say the wrong thing because they might upset certain group of people. But ever since I've known you, you called a spade, and you didn't care about who you're going to upset. Reality is reality. So, what do you do with people? I mean, this is the entry here, and the first question to you is: there are people who are chemically conjured to prioritize comfort over knowledge and truth, and some do it without being deliberate about it. It's literally the person you're speaking with, and some do it as a craft, as part of a game and a persona and a character, because we live in a world where if you are kind of normal or kind of in tune with reality, that is kind of mundane and boring. We want people who can channel aliens, and we want people who can feel and see our auras and light spectrum and frequency.
Yeah.
How do you deal with these two types of people?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I do want to kind of differentiate. Like, I'm not like going around the neighborhood knocking on everyone's door and saying, "Do you believe in ghosts?" And if they say yes, I go, "Ha ha, fucking idiot." Like, no, I'm like the normal people that I'm combative with are just people who come to my channel and give me a bunch of shit. So if you come to my yard, I'll yell at you. But no, obviously, far and away, I am targeting people who spread disinformation about science that is specifically harmful. And so, yeah, obviously, the most harmful tends to be in the medical realm, but then there's a lot of different offshoots. But yeah, these are people who profit off of making the world worse. You know, they're poisoning public perception of science and doing measurable harm. So, you know, obviously, I upset a lot of people with my content, but it's like, look, they're spewing off all this crap, and you're mad at me for also exercising my right to free speech. Like, no, there are not enough of me speaking up in this way to counter this immense wave. I mean, science denial and pseudoscientific beliefs are at a record high. It's just so many previously fringe positions are now mainstream. Vaccine hesitancy and anti-vax mentality is just, it's so widespread to the point where you can't say like, oh, COVID vaccine saved millions of lives or whatever. There's just so many people that are just instantly triggered by that kind of, no, I heard from Brett Weinstein, or I saw this guy on Joe Rogan, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, they're all lying to you, man. Every blah, 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 whoever the hell you want to bring up on whatever podcast you saw, they're lying to you. So I'm going to provide the facts, and I don't care who I piss off in doing so. That's it.
No, fair enough. Do you think that comforting position is literally a short-term approach? I mean, your hard-line approach might be kind of shocking. However, do you think, obviously, on the long term, when somebody's convictions is aligned with reality, there might be a shock to start with, there might be a shock to the system, but in the long term, it is better for humans to see things the way they are, even if it means they have to approach them in a slightly different way.
Yeah, these false narratives serve the very few. Truth serves the many. Always. That's always going to be the case. If you're distorting reality for personal gain, that's a financial or political calculated thing that benefits you and those around you, and not the masses, right? Anti-vaccine propaganda benefits those who peddle it at the detriment of the global population, right? We're seeing children dying again from vaccine preventable diseases. We're going to lose measles eradication status. We're going backwards in time. We're regressing in as a society. So yeah, I mean, and these narratives, people latch onto these narratives because they are sold a Underdog Luke Skywalker versus the Death Star thing, anti-establishment, I'm the hero against the big bad whatever, fill in the blank. And that's very alluring. Every single anti-science narrative has that it has that dressing to it. But I think that if you can help people understand how they've been duped, and it only takes one or two times, right? If I show you who Andrew Wakefield really is, or if I show you this morning, I released one on this guy Aaron Siri, who is RFK's lawyer, and he's just a giant piece of shit. And it's so trivial to he'll say no vaccines are tested against saline placebo. It takes 5 seconds to Google it and get a nice list of all the vaccines. It just so when you're shown that, like, oh, he's lying, and oh, lawyers are lying. Like, remember, like, lawyers can be lying pieces of shit. Like, remember when we used to all have lawyer jokes and stuff like that? Like, it just once people that are, I do get a lot of emails and a lot of comments that are like, look, man, like I fell into this podcast alternate reality pipeline and I bought all of this crap and you helped me get out of it. You just show people that here are very specific lies they're telling, and here's why they're telling them. Here's the financial or political incentive to be telling them. Once that happens, or a little bit of a flip of the switch, people start to be a little more critical. They start to be a little more skeptical of whoever the hell is on whatever podcast, and start to realize exactly what's going on in that area of the media. That's what it is.
I've watched a kind of a debate or a discussion with you and another gentleman and a couple of old goofballs who are supposed to be experts and doctors. And honestly, Dave, I could not. I mean, I like science. I read a lot about science, and these guys are supposed to be experts in their fields, and the discourse, it seemed like you're talking to a couple of people who never had any education in their life.
Yeah, it was shocking. So you're talking about me and Dan Wilson versus Pierre Corey and Steve Kirsch. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not going to lie. I thought that would be harder than it was. It was not difficult to humiliate them. I mean, as soon as Pierre Corey, I mean, honestly, as soon as Pierre Corey in my first prompt admitted that he was waging a war against literally all vaccines, I was like, okay, well, that makes you an idiot. And then once we started talking about, we were pressing him on offering a specific causative agent, and he was just listing off, mercury. Okay, mercury. What? Thimerosal. What is it? He didn't even know what it is. He didn't know that it was a preservative. Like, he doesn't know the structure of it. Like adjuvants and aluminum. Like we knew more. I mean, Dan is a scientist, and I'm a science communicator, so I know a lot about science, but a doctor should know more than me about this stuff, and he doesn't. And it's like, oh my God. And I mean, Steve Kirsch is a buffoon. He has no qualifications of any kind. But Pierre really, really humiliated himself in that exchange.
So, that was horrible. I mean, look, we're used to quacks throughout history. I mean, this is, there are always people who are wearing that sort of holding a sign saying that the end is nigh. That is sort of in every generation we've had these few people. But for the first time, I'm seeing these people are in leadership position. That Kennedy, I mean, this is supposed to be the guy, the head of health in the biggest country in the world, and the way he spouts information at absolutely no control or any scientific background whatsoever is quite baffling to outsiders who live outside of the United States. What is happening?
It's baffling for us too. No, I mean, and it's very fitting for the Trump administration, right? The theme of the Trump administration is say whatever the fuck you want, right? The majority of what any member of the administration says isn't true. Obviously, mainly Trump, Trump first and foremost. But it's true that, I mean, science denial in the government is not brand new. I mean, you've had Republicans denying climate change for decades, but that's just sort of like, if you asked a Republican senator, they would say that, oh, I don't believe in climate change or something like that. It has never been the case that medical misinformation has been pumped out of official state channels in this volume, and just CDC is compromised. Like, CDC is now offering false information. And the craziest thing about it is that you have all of these people, the masses that are privy to these kinds of narratives, that would always forever go, well, no, CDC, FDA, like they're in bed with big pharma, and it's the government, and the government is corrupt, and you can't blah, 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 blah. The moment Bobby gets in there and just starts lying out of his dumb face every single day, they're like, well, CDC said the blah, blah. Like, when did you start trusting the government now? You're like, have some consistency. Now that you're supposed to not listen to head of HHS, you suddenly do. Like, what is this now? You know, like, how are you so devoted to being always wrong about everything? But it just speaks to like the cult of personality and the way that Bobby has been able to ensnare so many millions of people with this rhetoric. I'm fighting against the big bad blah blah. No, you are that. That's what you are. You make money. I mean, it's just, it's yeah. I mean, it's astounding.
It's becoming very polarized. Like it's Team Red, Team Blue. It's Barcelona, Real Madrid. It's Messi, Ronaldo. We live in a very strange world at the moment where we can't just even appreciate things without the extreme comparison and belonging to a certain sect or a club, where the other is demonized without even hearing them out and looking at the evidence.
Yeah.
It is incredible to see that. Why has this become so? I mean, at the moment, if you're a right wing or a left wing, obviously, if you are somewhere in the middle, you're completely squeezed and overlooked. You've got to belong to a Team Red or Team Blue, otherwise you'll be looked at as a weirdo.
Yeah. Well, okay. So a couple things. Number one, the right is very aware of that, and that's why they choose very specific culture war topics to try to polarize centrists to the right. Trans people is the one that they use to do that, right? They're just like, right, liberals think men can have babies, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's so silly. I guess I'm a Republican now. But to be clear, with red, blue, like I'm not a Democrat. I don't support the Democratic Party. I despise the Democratic Party. I think Democratic Party is a shit party. I think the Republican Party is fucking apocalyptic. So it's like, it's not like I'm pro, like they're the worst ever. And then the Democrats are also bad, you know? So it's just, I think what happened is that ever since Fox News really got going, right, the Republicans perfected the art of Democrats are always wrong, always. Anything any Democrat says is wrong automatically, and here's the narrative that we're going to spew on Fox News to convince you that Democrats are always wrong, even about the most obvious, commonsensical, they're always wrong. Every sitting Democratic president is the worst president in history. Obama was the worst president in history. Biden was the worst president in history. It's just an absolute caricature of political discourse. I think that you see that on the left as well, but it's because Republicans are genuinely just the worst ever. But the difference is I think that there are fewer people. I mean, there are people that are like diehard blue. And I think that they forgive a lot in the Democratic Party. I was disillusioned by the Democrats a long time ago. I mean, probably during the Obama administration, but yeah. So the difference with somebody like me is I'll shit all over the Democrats as well, while acknowledging that the Republicans are trying to destroy the human species. So yeah.
So which is, I think, the sensible position to take. You know, there is no bias here. You show me what's your allegation, and I'll assess it, and I'll make my mind based on what you're telling me. I don't care if you're blue or right, blue or red or yellow. I don't care. I care only for, does this information matches with reality?
Yeah.
But I'm going to move to something even more controversial at the moment, because we understand the politics behind things, and it's a game, and there's money involved and influence and stuff like that. I can understand that. This game has been played, that Game of Thrones has been played for centuries. However, now we're going to the skeptics community, you know, where the atheists or the agnostics or those people who are saying, I'm not going to believe without evidence. And then we move into the cancel culture, where if somebody it's like Richard Dawkins now. So obviously Richard Dawkins he's a biologist, he's a zoologist, he has a point of view to make on the gender, sex type of situation. And he's not saying that these people should not be dealt with respect. He's not saying that at all. Um, um, However, certain people, I think famously the one he's putting him under the limelight at the moment, friendly atheists. I think he's known into the atheistic community in the United States. He's got Richard Dawkins under the radar now. Whatever he says, it's under scrutiny at the moment.
Mhm.
Why do you think this is happening from the skeptic community?
Yeah, no, there's clearly a divide. I mean, and just it's really alarming to see. Yeah, you got to take Kraus out of your intro, man, because that guy
I
sucks a
know,
lot.
I know. Well, I'm waiting to hear a bit more because a lot of people started to tell me a few things about him. I haven't had him for
Yeah.
2 years now. Yeah.
I mean, beyond the sexual allegation stuff, like that's the base level, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about just in the midst of an administration where Trump is slashing budgets for science. Trump and Bobby Kennedy are destroying the American scientific community. It's in shambles. People are leaving. Bright individuals from other countries are not coming here to do their doctorates and postdocs and stuff. Budgets are cut in as much as in half. They're ruining the American scientific community. And then Krauss puts out a book called The War on Science. And what is it about? Oh, trans people and DEI and all. So fuck you. Fuck you. What is this shit? The War on Science is the war being waged against the scientific community by the American government. That's the war on science, not that you don't like whatever you don't like wokeness, whatever that means to you. So Krauss is in that camp. Dawkins is in that camp. Jerry Coyne is in that camp. Boghossian is in that camp. Anyone who contributed to that piece of shit book is in that camp, and they can no longer be taken seriously as intellectuals. Dawkins, I have respect for. He had made some great contributions to science communication in the 80s and 90s, and had influential books that helped people deconvert, and nobody can take that away from him. That's a valuable contribution, but he's tanking his reputation in his twilight years here by fixating, I mean, the Islamophobia first of all, and then the trans shit. Just to know, we got to get past this as a civilization. Trans people exist. Deal with it, okay? Like, we can have mature conversations about what to do about the sports and the bathroom and all. Fine, we'll talk about that, but just the absolute refusal to accept transness as an identity, as a biological reality, and what it means, without jumping to these dumb straw men of what is a woman, and you think men can have babies and stuff. There is zero, like, they're the most brick wall, brain dead community. They refuse to have a genuine conversation about the biology of transness. It's crazy. I've tried. I did like 3 or 4 videos on it. Matt Walsh sent his army of incels to attack me, and I made a few more, and I've kind of put it to bed because it's just like there's zero talking to these people. They don't listen. They don't interact in good faith. They don't actually respond to anything I say about it, and it's just like, look, all right, I did my 4 or so videos on that. That's all I can do. I'm on to other topics now. So.
Yeah. So you deal with it as, okay, this is a reality. This is the human reality at the moment. It actually existed for a long time. It's not just new.
Yeah.
It just they obviously.
There's always been trans people, just like there's always been gay people, and there's all just like human sexuality and gender identity and all these things. They're not binary. They're not simple. They're not everything fits into the nice little box that people want. Biological organisms are complicated. All these different phenotypes present in myriad ways along various spectra, and that's all there is to it. Just deal with
even
it.
the scientific, the gametes are all almost the same. They're the same until they differentiate at some point. So you start from, and the male female anyway. It's kind of a novelty in evolution, because we survived for billions of years, or living organism without any differentiation between sexes. That's a new thing in biology that emerged probably 600 or 700 million years ago.
Sure. Yeah. Not all extant organisms are dioecious. There's plenty of monoecious. I mean, humans are, to be clear. So it's not like I'm saying, there's no male and female. Of course there's. And clearly, the criticism of identifying sex and sexuality and gender identity upon spectra, they are bimodal distributions, right? Maleness and femaleness. There are 2 phenotypes that are very predominant, but that doesn't change the fact that they, it's this. Can you see my finger? It's
Yeah.
it's two things like that, right? There are
Yeah.
two states that are dramatically predominant, but there are many other identities
Values
that do
and-
exist.
yeah.
Therefore, it's not binary. Binary code is not mostly zeros and ones, but sometimes a 1/2 and a pi and a -1 and but no. Binary means 0 and 1. That's it. That's all there is
Yeah.
for binary code, right? That's what a binary means.
Yeah, even we know now that even if you have the genes for certain attribution to the gene expression, and the epigenetics plays a huge role, where somebody's predisposition to violence can lead them to be a criminal or a firefighter or a soldier in the army of his country. So it can actually take different turns, and it can express itself in different ways. So it's not set stone. It's almost like I don't want to bring quantum mechanics in it, but there is a kind of a superposition, and then they can take different routes from that point when all probabilities and possibilities.
Embryonic development is a very complicated process. You can have certain chromosomes, you can have certain genes. It depends whether they're expressed, right? You can have XY chromosomes and express female genitals. You can have XX sex chromosomes and express male genitals, right? So you have conflicting characteristics. In terms of one sex than the other, and these are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how frequent it is, right? These are biological realities that disprove a binary, and that's it.
When do we stop sticking our big noses into people's bedrooms? I mean, the story of Alan Turing is quite inspiring. The guy who single-handedly probably did better than many heterosexuals in the world, and did fantastic work with the Enigma, did the Turing machine. He's done so much, yet he was pretty much his destiny was decided by his sexuality. When do we sort of say, not my problem, whatever you do in your bedroom is yours?
Well, so that's the irony, is that I feel like we've gone through this with the homosexual community around the 1970s, 1980s was when they first began to be recognized and start to scramble for their rights, to the point where I'm 42 years old. So I grew up in the 90s, and I witnessed the change within the 90s. Like when I was a kid, you could still use gay as a pejorative, and gay people were harassed, and kids were afraid to come out in school. And then by the time I was like kind of graduating high school, the shift had sort of started to happen, where like, no, we don't make fun of gay people, and you can come out and you can be gay in school and stuff like that. And that was 30 years ago. And it's progressed to the point now where they have gay marriage and a lot more rights. And even Republicans, it's very frowned upon to be a homophobe. It's not in vogue, even for the Republican Party. So we've witnessed this 40-year transformation for the homosexual community. And I just want to scream into the air that again for trans people. How do you not get it, that it's that thing again? Just for trans people now, you have to now realize this is a thing. It's not an aberration. It's not a sickness. It's not a disease. It's not the devil. It's a way that humans are, and they exist, and just fucking deal with it, okay? And whatever you wanted, should we be allowed to have gay people in the army? And should we be able to blah, blah, blah? Okay, fine. We can talk about all that crap, but first is the first thing, where you accept that there is this other kind, there are, sexuality is on a spectrum, and this is completely natural, and people are this way, right? That comes first. And we're never going to talk about the social stuff until people accept the biological reality of gender identity, just as we did for sexuality. That's it.
It seems like we have to keep learning the same lessons over and over. We're not learning from, but I'm very glad that you know now the meaning of life, because you've reached that magical number of 42, and you know.
Yeah.
42 is the meaning of life. It is quite distressing, because we're obviously we want to progress. There are many challenges coming our way as human species. There are so many things coming from, in terms of weather, in terms of population, there's so like a bigger fish to fry. And I feel these people are holding us back by making us focus on elementary, basic ideas that we always constantly have to revisit to explain to the world that vaccines work and
Yep.
worked in the past and saved millions of children from polio and other viruses that used to be the end. I think back in the day, if you have a child with disability, you could actually sort of bury them alive when they were infants, and so that's the end of the story. And
Mhm.
we advance to, yeah, it's eliminated almost, and there are people who want us to go back all the way because vaccines apparently cause autism.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's much worse than all that, right? It's one thing to have an uneducated, willfully ignorant populace and all of the social ramifications of that, but the layer above that is that this public votes administrations into office that then do measurable harm with legislation. So that group of people that you're describing is why Trump's in power, who can then appoint Bobby Kennedy to a head of HHS, who can then make actual changes, right? Widespread changes, and start to take vaccines away from people, which he said he wasn't going to do, but he is doing that by removing vaccines from the ACIP panel's list. They become unavailable to low income families because they're not recommended, right? So they're not going to be covered. So yeah, it's a two-tier problem, right? We're fighting people that are in legitimate positions of power while trying to educate people who are the type to vote them into power because they think that they're on our side, or trying to they're say, right, Bobby cares about health. He cares about getting everybody healthy, and with the beef tallow fries and the doing his push-ups with Kid Rock and stuff. It's just like, it's such a joke. Like, how do you not see that this guy does not give a shit about anyone but himself and his finder's fees for his bogus lawsuits and all this crap? It's a total shit show.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Look, I'm going to be in August. I'm going to be 54, and I remember to obtaining knowledge back in the day. We're talking the 70s here.
mhm.
You walk for a bit to find the right book, and hopefully it's not borrowed by somebody, and you've got to wait for a couple of weeks to have access to that book. And information was at a premium then, and
Mhm.
and the right information, if you can spot the right book and everything, and it will take months to grab any sort of information or accumulate knowledge about a certain case. Um, and then knowledge was in the hands of the few, and everybody else sort of kind of worked with it. We live in a world right now where knowledge is about 2 seconds away,
Yep.
and you can cross verify. I can have 5 different AIs open, ask the same question. Obviously, it's a craft how to use AI, because you can't be stupid. You gotta cross verify. You gotta check the different answers. You're gonna try to challenge it with a contrary evidence and stuff like that. But we're talking about a world where you can obtain knowledge while sipping on a cup of hot chocolate in your pajama at 11 p.m. and NES playing in the background.
Mhm. Yep.
And despite all of that, there is so much confusion about what is true.
Yeah. So, I mean, having the entirety of human knowledge at your fingertips only works if it's not being drowned out by a much larger body of false information, or larger by 1 to 2 orders of magnitude of false information. And that's by design, right? Those who want to deceive the public, you can't hide the facts anymore. So you just have to bombard them with lies, and you got to make them convincing. You need a story around it. You need a hero. You need a villain, and you need yeah, so that's what we're seeing on every popular podcast, right? And we're watching all of the podcasts get polarized in that direction. Rogan was first, but then you have all of these podcasts. As they get more popular, they inevitably start veering in that direction towards platforming these people. And part of it is audience capture. I think at first it's probably audience capture because these narratives are tantalizing, and so they are those podcast hosts are rewarded by platforming those people who tell these tantalizing stories. But then inevitably, I think there's probably dark money getting in the mix too. Lex Fridman, Diary of a CEO, these kind of, like, I think there's fishy stuff going on there, money wise. But it really is a problem. I actually went on. Do you know the Danny Jones podcast?
Yeah, yeah.
I went on there and I was at first I was gonna like, do I really want to do this? I don't know if I want to do this. And then he was like, no, we're gonna have a conversation. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna like kind of invade the podcast bro space. And I thought it was a decent conversation. He's a bit naive, but I don't think that it was like it was a good faith conversation. I felt, you know what I mean? I felt that he was genuinely trying to be like, let's hear what this guy has to say. You know, his viewership, not so much. They were not digging it. So it was a little bit of an experiment. You know, what can happen if I say a bunch of true things to people who listen to lies all the time?
Mm.
Because they're not coming to my channel. You know what I mean? I have to invade their space to say these things. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I maybe moved the needle too much, but it was an
Oh, it will
experiment.
take a
You know, you
while.
try
Yeah,
this stuff. So
yeah. I think there's another inherent problem as well in that in the voice of reason. The voice of reason is inherently kind of neutral.
mhm.
It's detached, and a lot of people might find that kind of boring. It needs to come with a persona. Needs to come with a
Yeah.
confusing Jordan Peterson, so people can scratch their heads and rage, at him,
Well, the,
and that causes engagements.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that you can tell a story with a villain and everything and like that, but it just has to be true. I think that maybe part of the reason that I have a very popular channel and that my debunks get a lot of views is I think I am able to tap into those kinds of narratives. I'm just telling the truth. RFK is a monster. These people are monsters, and I'm explaining how they're monsters with factual information. And I infuse humor where I can. I try to, be I'm a bit of a wordsmith, I suppose. I would pat myself on the back with that claim and just kind of make it as entertaining as possible. You know, to try to compete with these pseudo
Mm,
archaeology aliens made this and the blah blah. It's like, yeah, how is like a university lecture going to compete with that shit? You can't. So I'm
yeah,
doing my best to make it entertaining without sacrificing an ounce of integrity. Um, and I think I do a pretty good job. I think that's part of why the numbers are as they are.
yeah.
Although I can't believe the Aaron Siri one this morning, just like the Peter McCullough one I did not too long ago. Very bad numbers. I don't really know why. It
Really?
just feels so throttled. I think I got maybe 60, 70, 60K views, I think, today. You know,
All right.
usually on a debunk, I can get 150K on the first day. And so I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah. I'm doing a podcast in Arabic at the moment because the other side of me, the Dr. Jekyll. On TikTok, I was telling you about the TikTok where you get a lot of
Mhm.
engagement. So I'm doing a series of almost mimicking the Bill Bryson's short history of nearly everything. So I'm starting from the Big Bang all the way to current affairs,
Mhm.
but I am putting the scientific narrative in a story with
Mhm.
an Egyptian female. She's fantastic as well. I talk the hard science. She humanizes the information into a story, and it seems that, and that's why I think religions are so powerful, is because of the story of the narrative. And
Mhm.
a lot of the scientists, I think Carl Sagan broke into that, where shows cosmos, shows the story of the universe. Neil deGrasse Tyson with a stand-up comedian in his Star Talks. Do you think we need more of that sort of science approach where it's not just equations, it's actually there is a story, an interesting one behind it?
I think we need whatever works. I think if a narrative works, it works, and you do that. I mean, I think it's going to tend to be the case that narrative works and helps. We all want, it's when you're in school and you're learning organic chemistry or calculus or whatever it is, there's maybe a hint of a story, but really you're just kind of learning practical information. But there's a purpose there, where you're trying to get your degree and go on to whatever you want to do with your career. So absent of those incentives, right, the general public is not trying to get an A or get a degree or get a job. They're just, if you're trying to convince somebody, hey, you need to know this. Um, yeah, whatever strategy is available to you that seems to work. I just think that there needs to be more science communicators, and I want them to all throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. Maybe somebody's going to have something really dry and fact-based, and it'll work for them because they have, I don't know, something special about them that makes it work for them, or in a particular country, in a particular language, whatever. So a particular culture responds well to that. Maybe China. I don't know. Like, just I don't care. Like, just everybody. We need 100 times more career science communicators working on this problem, and I have no interest in telling any of them what to do or to try. I want them to just do whatever they want and see what works, and if it works, then keep doing that.
I kind of tend to agree. I think you're right. Different styles might attract different audiences anyway. We don't know what people are attracted to, so everybody's trying everything. Even if there is a group of people will be attracted to that narrative, then it works, and it drives the point that the universe is intelligible.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the reality, and this is now takes it up a notch now, away from all these buffoons that sort of enrage me on a daily basis, but would want to use your brilliant brain now to think with me about a couple of things here that has been a bit of a challenging, not to me, but to a lot of physicists and people who are sort of really into that stuff in a moment of truth, when you're completely by yourself, not in front of cameras, and you think, okay, we go deep into the Matryoshka doll, and you keep opening the doll, and there's a smaller. You reach the make of everything, of the two quarks and an electron, and even in some disciplines like string theory, these are not even elementary or fundamental. These are the excitation of the strings that causes particles to sort of excite, and they cause excitation in the fields to mimic that particle when observed. But when you go at a smaller and a smaller level, stuff and matter, as we know it, kind of disappear, and it becomes mathematical equations of some sort. What does that mean? Like, are we on the fringe of I don't want to say simulation, which is plausible. There's nothing wrong about it. What's in the background if the fundamental reality isn't real in the terms of what we know what real is? It's tangible.
Well, it's not tangible because what is it to touch things? I mean, it would be naive to presume that a sense that we use in the macroscopic world has any meaning on the most fundamental scale. I mean, I think that, the universe is fundamentally mathematical. There are mathematical relationships that govern the fundamental constituents of the universe. I just look at it as that's how the universe works, right? I mean, it's just the universe exists. Why wouldn't it be the simplest, lowest energy state that it could be? And that is one of comprehensiveness, right? It would be bizarre for it to just be different in wherever you are in the universe, and different laws and different constants and things like that. Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, it's like, I certainly can't disprove simulation theory, and I can't even disprove the concept of a deity, right? I mean, this is look how crazy the universe is what Stephen Meyer's doing right now in all his dumb movies and whatever propaganda he's trying to do, and it's just, for me, there's and probably for all of the future of humanity, however long we last and whatever else we figure out, there's probably always going to be this tiny kernel way in the recesses of just, why does anything exist? Why is the universe this way? It's bordering on philosophical question, but simulations and deities and all of these things, they do not solve that problem for me. They're not convincing or attractive explanations for anything, because you are just kicking the can down the road, right? The question of why does anything exist is not solved by a simulator or a deity, because you've made the problem worse. You have a much more complicated entity or reality to now explain the existence of that. So I don't we're entering the realm of like what can certainly not be empirically disproven, but which is just kind of pointless to entertain. I mean, you can get stoned and have a fun conversation about it, and I'm not going to like go with a pitchfork against anybody who believes in that kind of deity or simulation theory or anything like that. But I just personally don't subscribe to them because they're not meaningful to me. Right? They don't answer any questions. They don't make anything simpler. They don't even really explain anything if you really get down to it. What the realm of the simulator, how where did your deity come from? I mean, it just doesn't, it's
It
not
pushes the
very
question one extra level that needs an
completely.
explanation on its own. But just for your information, about a week ago, Neil deGrasse Tyson issued a video where he thinks science might have put their fingers on the why there is something rather than nothing. I might send it to you on your email, and it's to do with the symmetry breaking. There are multiple symmetry breaking that led to sort of the reality we live in. Symmetry of time, the arrow of time, and why there is a billion, electron and a billion and one, and that residual number is what constitutes all the matters that we live in at the moment. But they've actually found why this happens in one of the accelerators.
You mean the matter antimatter asymmetry?
Yeah.
CP symmetry violation.
Yeah.
I mean, those who want to have this conversation can always take it to a deeper level, right? You're talking about, well, where did the particles come from? Where did the initial singularity come from? I mean, I just think you will always be able to do that. No matter what we figure out about physics, you will always be able to kind of go, because it's just the nature of reality. You're never going to get to just a firm foundation and then, okay, we solved it all. I don't think it'll happen. Even if it's physically possible, I don't think humans will do it. I mean, depending, first of all, on how long we survive, which could be another billion years. It could be 20 years. I don't know what's going to happen. But I've made my peace with that. You know what I mean? It's like, isn't it astounding enough that we can understand what happened 10 to the negative 36 seconds after the initial singularity and explain the evolution of the universe with pretty firm empirical basis and understand. I mean, just think about going back a few centuries ago, 300-400 years ago. People had no idea what stars are and planets. They had no idea. It's just some shit in the sky. It's like, now we know what stars are, how they form, and how the evolution of planetary systems, and that there's planets around other stars, and we can yearn to go there, and maybe there's a teeny tiny outside chance that we'll actually physically go to other systems. We won't, but depending on how
I've always thought knowledge is the ability to quantify your ignorance, which is we kind of on at the moment. People go, oh no, we don't know 95%. Well, there are two things.
This makes me so mad. It's like, it doesn't matter how much dark matter there is. It's one entity. Once we figure it out, it's not like we're chipping away a 100% at a time. It's an empirical question that will be answered. I think we'll be alive for that. I think we'll be alive to figure out.
That would be great. God, that'd be great. I mean, we lived around the Higgs boson, and
for sure.
People, they call it the God particle, and again, this is one thing that actually makes me so angry.
Me too. The whimsy of physicists. Yeah.
Chromosomal Adam, mitochondrial Eve, the brain in the heart. And I have to battle with the people, the Muslim people, with the Quran. It's like, oh, we told you in the Quran there is a brain in we think with our hearts. It's like, there's a scientific paper says there's a brain in the heart. It's like, fucking no, that's not what it says.
Yeah.
Stop reading the title.
Yeah. Hearts do not think. I'm sorry, but it's just like all of the fervor of dark matter, so dumb, blah blah. It's like, if they called it non-baryonic matter, you wouldn't give a shit about it. You would never be talking about it. You'd never say. It's just that does bother me. But far be it from me to tell physicists how to physics. It would just be a light suggestion, like, can you guys just like dial down I know it's fun, but dial down the whimsy a little bit. It's just it does measurable harm to public perception of science.
Yeah. I mean, the story about the God particle, the Higgs boson, and how it was influenced by the publisher, because it was actually called the goddamn particle, but publisher said, oh, that's not going to sell, that's not going to fly, let's make it the God particle.
Yeah, totally.
So that's how it works. But just advancing into the scientific realm a little bit more, and what we can discover in the future. Obviously, we're chasing kind of the more question we're going to answer is going to open new questions. That looks like it is going to be the case, and I'm enjoying that. Actually, I don't mind. A lot of people are unsettled by the best 3 words in any language I've ever known. I don't know.
Mhm.
Which is the one that triggers, okay, so let's know, let's work on trying to get to know. And that's exciting for me. A lot of people are afraid of not knowing.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. I mean, people who are afraid of not knowing just don't know anything, because if you ever learned or knew anything, you would understand that there's a frontier of human knowledge, and no matter how far you push it, it's there, right? So here are things we don't know. Okay, we figured them out. Now here's another. Like, it's just, come on, man, just deal with it. There are things that we don't know. But here's also the problem: is that anybody who's put off by that, when did you sit down and learn all the shit that we already know anyway? You don't know anything. You don't know high school level biology or physics or any of this stuff. So stop worrying about the frontier. That's the I feel like the general public has this fascination with the frontier of any scientific field. But the problem is the progress that we made in the 20th century in every single science is so profound that the frontier of any scientific field is totally indiscernible and unintelligible to the common person. So when the average person wants to learn about quantum mechanics and they don't understand Newton's laws, I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, learn the basic shit. And then, I mean, let's be honest, you're not going to get there, but you could maybe, if you really want to, and you actually apply yourself, and, you could begin to learn about this stuff. But yeah,
they will only learn. They will only learn enough about science to tell you that is not possible, and somebody must have done it, because it's the what's his name, Linsky, and we put the equations in the computer, say, oh, there's no way that a cell would have self-emerged, and because the number is close to impossible. Out of his ass.
Who is that? I know Lenski as the LTE.
Dembski. Sorry,
Dembski. Yeah, Dembski. Yeah, I'm gonna do some stuff on Dembski now, because I don't know if you've seen, but Meyer is on this like crusade. He's doing a big push this year. He's been doing all these appearances, and he just put out a movie in theaters. It's in theaters right now, and it's the same shit. Like, look how complicated this is. It's crazy, right? DNA is a code. Codes come from from a mind, right? It's the same. It's so infantile, but he's really. And then they're clearly like paying people on Twitter to like retweet it. But like you'll see like 50 in a row, just like reposting the same video from DI. It's just like a new cell video. It's just a new video of a modern eukaryotic cell. And it's like, look at how crazy this is. So God, right? It's just like,
I think it's capitalizing on what is happening in the United States at the moment, because there is that sort of environment where he can actually make some damage. So he's clever. He's a bit unhinged. I've watched a couple of things for him about him before, and he's like a bit of a weird, like he's unhinged. But what about James Stewart? Did he disappear from the scene?
No, he's in that movie, and he's doing these appearances. I've some stuff has compiled for me to do reaction videos to. Meyer and Tour and Lennox did this one that got a lot of views that I have to react to, and then just Meyer doing some other stuff, and it's all the Dembski specified information crap. They've kind of stopped doing irreducible complexity, at least they don't, not the way that they had been doing it with Behe, but it's still just this like. Their favorite one is the protein that walks along the fiber in the it's just like, look, it's a thing that's like walking. So God is it's like, God damn it, man, you guys are still
they're still invoking the water problem, the hydrolysis, that they're not stable. The amino acid is not stable.
Oh yeah. So that was Tour's paper. I had fun with that one. I did a nice video.
Clay can act as a catalyst and stabilizer at the same time.
Sure, but it's much worse than that, right? Because he did this whole paper where he's pretending that a polypeptide is just like a straight chain, just like this, right? And he's like, well, the probability of one hydrolyzing times this. They fucking fold, you moron. They adopt these shapes where they're protected. It's just like, I mean, there are proteins that can survive in boiling water. So you're trying to tell me that, come on, man. It's
They
just
think
so
quite
juvenile.
linearly. Like they think linear. They think it's a conveyor belt of process, and you convey the information to the next. They don't understand how complex of a network
Hmm.
things are, and how multiple facets can come from different places and assemble and deassemble, and happens over. And you don't count the number of failed trials. There's
Yeah.
so many that probably we never got to see the sun, but they're so linear in terms of thinking, because they're starting with a conclusion. That's where the problem is. They have a
Yeah.
conclusion they want to reach, and this is where science fails. If you enter a science lab and you have a conclusion in mind that you're trying to prove, you failed science.
Sure, yeah, and they know that the dangerous part with them is that they know the science that they're obfuscating. Like, they're deliberately distorting the science. I mean, to the degree where at the DI they're regularly like doctoring data tables. Casey Luskin did this with the whole. I covered it a few months ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but they're trying to overturn the whole 98% genetic similarity between humans and chimps. And so the way they do it is they just lie about a bunch of data, and they just obfuscate. There are different ways to compare genomes,
Yeah,
and they pretend one is
non-coding
the other.
DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they
yeah,
literally trim data tables. Like, okay, this data debunks what we're saying, so get rid of that. And then they get caught, and then a bunch of videos get made, like mine and a few other, Erica and Dan, some other science communicators. We all kind of dogpile me, like, look at what these jerks are doing. And then they just, I feel like at this point they are pretending I don't exist. They used to kind of like make damage control pieces, but then that would just make me hit them harder. So I think they stopped doing it.
yeah,
And in fact, I haven't commented on DI in a while, but it's time to come back to them, because they're putting out all the this big wave of propaganda. So it's time to take them down a notch
yeah.
again.
We'll explore this one last theme, and that'll be on the hour, which is
Mhm.
I know you don't like to waffle for too long like me. um, we did not evolve to learn what's true. We evolved to survive, to continue living, and transfer our genes to the next generation. We start aging from the age of 20. The cell starts to, once your sperm is transferred to an ova and it becomes a zygote, it's almost like your job is done. But we seems to be like the living cell is a temporary challenge of the inevitable, of entropy. So it's a assembling of information for temporary period of time, and then it will dissipate again, and it will reassemble, and it will take a different configurations throughout its history. So from that point of view, if we truly are here to just to survive and live and enjoy life, and we're not geared to know what is really true. Some would argue, but maybe that was in the past. We are now in a situation where knowledge and epistemology and understanding what is true, it's aiding, if not to life, at least to the quality of life, which has actually become more of a paramount, because kind of life is secured to a degree to a lot of us. It's now it's transferred to the quality of life. How we are going to live this life, and for this sort of parameter, you need to know what is true to make life even better. So, do you agree or disagree with, okay, well, we're not here to learn the truth, our brains are have not evolved to learn the truth, versus no, maybe in the past it wasn't very important, it was more important to live in groups and survive in groups, and believe in things and false negatives, even though they're not true, but they're aiding to survival, which was the most important. Now we live in a reality where understanding reality and structuring our life around what is true, it's aiding to the quality of life, which has become more paramount than the olden days.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously the case today. I would argue that it was more or less always true, even living on the savannah. I mean, there are certain relics. Like, I mean, you could say, like, the reason that we kind of see faces where they aren't is because there was some evolutionary advantage, right? It's better to see too many faces and be wrong most of the time, but that one time you did see the tiger in the bush and then you ran away and you whatever it is. So, like, there's like, that's kind of in support of what you're saying. But on the other hand, right, if you're gonna throw a spear, right, you got to be able to figure out, have an intuitive understanding of the laws of physics to get it to arc the way you want and land
True.
on the target. So it's always been the case that our ability to understand our surroundings has aided us in constructing shelters and finding food and cataloging our understanding of which food is going to kill us and which, there are a handful of counterexamples that are kind of relics of evolutionary psychology, but for the most part, I think it's always been the case. But then now, of course, much more so that we're not really beholden to natural selection in the same way that we once were, and we were not in the food chain, right? We're just kind of trying to figure out how to, as you said, improve the quality of life. And of course, this is very tethered to our ability to probe the nature of the universe on the deepest, most fundamental level. We figure out fundamental particles, and then we use them to create new technology, new materials, new methods of energy and transportation and things. And yeah.
Well, I mean, writers do get blocks, and as a content creator who's been around for close to a decade now, and with thousands of videos and debates and conversations, do you sometimes want just have a cheeseburger, watch a silly movie, and say "fuck it"?
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I love a good burger and I love a good movie. Yeah, I mean, I do work more than anyone I have ever met, but I do occasionally take breaks, and yeah, I mean, I eat meals and I do all that kind of stuff too. I have kids.
But I mean, like take a break for a couple of weeks and say, or even reach the point where you're going.
A couple of weeks, I don't think I could do that.
But could you? I mean, I have done that before, and where I question, am I really making a change? Or do I have to, or do I just live my life and just let it go? Or sometimes I get these sort of doubts in my mind.
Well, okay. I mean, a couple of things. Number one, this is my income, and we're a single income family, so I do not have the luxury of not doing this. I have to do this, but I also do feel that this is how I can contribute to society the most. So I do feel fortunate that the thing that I think is that I am having the most impact is also the thing that I figured out to be lucrative for me. So I'm thankful for that. There are other things that I want to do more. I've been trying to get back to music and other art forms for years now, and I think I will be able to do that this year a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if I could flip a switch and make the same amount of money and just jump over and make music all the time, yeah, I'd love to do that.
Well, that's why you need to do it. TikTok is, I mean, I'm getting Derek from Myth Vision because he's now, we're going to go on TikTok. And yesterday I had Aaron Adair, probably the physicist, and Jonathan M.S. Pierce. We talked about has science ended philosophy. So I had a philosopher and a scientist, and we were in TikTok. So yeah, it would be quite interesting for you to explore that, especially if you're going to venture into music. This is the platform, definitely, for it.
Should I be doing TikTok? I don't know how the TikTok works. I don't want to do TikTok.
No, it's becoming. It's when lots of people have the connotation. There's a lot of things going on in terms of physics and like proper chats. But the problem, the difference is the interaction from the audience is completely. YouTube is becoming the silent viewers type of platform. You get some comments here and there, but for actually contributing interactions, TikTok is becoming the forget the silly stuff, but there are actually some very, very good proper conversation going on. So yesterday we had that philosophy science one, and it was pretty good.
I know that there's a way for me to reach a new audience and grow my YouTube viewership through TikTok. Every time I try to do it, I fail spectacularly, and I just go back. Whatever. I'm too old. I don't want to do it. I'm just gonna. But I don't know. Maybe I can crack the code at some point. I feel like I could do kind of like short debunking. Just find some idiot saying something stupid on TikTok. The thing is, I don't even know. Like, I know that there's a way to like play a thing and then talk in front of it and go, haha, this is dumb. I literally don't even know how to do that. Like, I don't know how to use it. Like, of course I can learn it. And
well, in one of the future conversations, I will include you. I'll see if within a panel, so that way you don't feel alone. Sure. So maybe I'll have Derek from Myth Vision and a couple of other people, Aaron Ra or something, and then it will look like once you get used. The only thing that I had to get used to very, very quickly is people send you gifts of life. and the gifts are freaking silly. So you be talking about Baruch Spinoza, and suddenly somebody fixes an elephant trunk on your face.
Oh,
Or
I
you
get
wear,
it.
yeah,
Oh,
and you feel a bit silly for a moment, but thank you very
Yeah.
much for the few dollars.
yeah. Yeah. As long as I'm getting paid, you can. Yeah. Interesting.
Fantastic.
Okay. It's something to think about.
Yeah, I'll talk to you offline about it as well. It's definitely it has changed, and the interaction is fantastic because you have the panel, and you can talk about something for an hour or an hour and a half with the panel experts, and then you can let people come in one at a time and pose a question relevant to the topic.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to have a feeling. These are you're 20 years old, you're 19 years old, you're 21 years old. This is the future. I feel that the generation that is going to make impact in the next couple of decades are on TikTok at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's inevitable. I have to try one more time.
Yeah. I was resistant at the very beginning. But look, thank you so much for everything you do. You're one of my favorite people. You're very level-headed. You don't sweat the little things unless you're faced by a lying wanker. You explode. But thank you very much for everything you do, Dave.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.